right, let's just get into it. Let's talk about the Hasselblad X1DII Mark II. Let's not. Sorry, had a little light failure there. Oh, not failure, my battery died. Didn't check it. That's my fault. Hasselblad X1DII Mark II. I'm not going to try to get too deep in the woods on this one. It's a medium format camera, digital medium format camera. I'm not going to compare it to the GFX and all the iterations of that series of camera or any other medium format camera for that fact. I'm just going to tell you about my experiences with it because honestly, I did something that upon first thought, maybe kind of like that's way out there in far left field. I actually took the Hasselblad X1DII Mark II and I shot it as a vacation point and shoot style camera in Walt DisneyWorld. I know. It just sounds so silly. So how did that come about? About a month prior to that, I went to a Beers and Camera event and somebody there had an X1DII Mark II. I held it in my hands and I was like, this is a gorgeous camera. I've always seen them online. I've never actually held one. I've never actually used one. I shot about 2 or 3 frames with it and it had an adapted lens on it. And I was like, this camera is beautiful. And coming from Leica, I'm a Leica shooter. It kind of felt similar in terms of build quality, design, and functionality. I love simple cameras. I don't like very complicated cameras. And unfortunately, a lot of cameras that I use for my own professional work are very complicated. Deep menus, crowded LCD screens, too many features. Autofocus is amazing. Not that that's a bad thing, but it's there. These cameras, along the same lines as Leica, are very simple. They're simple in their application. They're simple in their design. They are well thought out. And I like the simplicity of the screen, to be honest with you. It is very clean. It is very clear. There is not any clutter. There is nothing there that you don't need. It is just very intuitive. And I'm sitting here talking about the camera and I haven't even showed you yet. I haven't done that YouTube thing where I put it in front of my face. Hopefully the camera, A7C Mark II, doesn't stay on face tracking while I show you this beautiful Hasselblad X1DII Mark II. Now you'll notice there that I have a K&F filter on the front. I use these filters all the time because I love this magnet. I love magnet UV filters. I do use UV filters on most of my lenses because I don't like walking around with a lens cap on all day, and a camera like this that doesn't have a lens shade, there really isn't any protection on the main element, and I don't feel like getting a scratch or screwing up my lens with dirt and grime and then it becoming damaged. I think that just makes sense. I always use either B&W filters or I like these K&Fs because they are magnetic. Now, I did pick up a earth filter for my, let me get myself out of there, my Leica Deluxe 8, and I have a little magnetic filter on there as well, and I really like that. I think it works well, and this camera is going to be fun. I'm going to, not to get into that, we'll do this camera later. Going to put it through its paces. The X2, or actually, no, I don't have the X2D. That was too expensive. I have the X1DII Mark II. What did I like about the camera? Real quick, the simplicity in the LCD screen, how clear and unobtrusive everything is on the screen. I really like the touch screen functionality of it. I think the touch screen works great. I will show you that real quick. Right on the back, it's very clear and concise. You don't have to use the touchscreen. You can use all your buttons and dials and everything else, but if you want to use the touchscreen, you could just basically touch and go to whatever you want. You could go to your shutter, you can go to your timer, whatever you want to do. This is going up to, well, that's a lot. Let's go and scroll. Let's get back up into normal shutter speeds, X100, whatever it is. And then if you want the normal screen, you can see how that kind of, well, I'm really dark there, so if I open that up a little bit, and if I show you the back rear screen right there, you can see how uncluttered everything is. There's nothing that's obtrusive. It doesn't, what I'm trying to say is that it doesn't mess with the framing of things. Your composition isn't screwed up because you have the complete screen that's cluttered. And the other really nice thing that I have to say about this is that the screen is huge. It's a lot bigger than most LCD screens. It's very large. And I found that, number one, for composing photos, arm lengths away, it was nice touchscreen, touch focus. It was great to compose with a screen that big. It was great for reviewing images on a screen that big. And the EVF is very nice too. Very clear, very concise. It looks exactly like the rear screen, just in the EVF, and the EVF is very large. So I found that really, really nice to use. Another strong point that I really liked, the Focus 2 app, the Hasselblad Focus 2 app worked flawlessly. I'm sitting here in a line in Disney, and I have a few frames that I wanted to share with friends and family that I was with. Took a group photo of my, friends in front of the castle with their young baby, and I was able to just go in the Focus 2 app, pull either the JPEG or the RAW file off, do a little editing if I want, and send it right on its way. To be honest with you, really didn't even need to do any editing, because the JPEG files that come out of this camera and the color fidelity and the tonality and everything, it is just gorgeous. Love the colors that come out of the camera, right alongside of my Leica cameras that, I love the colors that come straight out of that camera too. I do a lot of editing. I love to edit, but for me on vacation, the simplicity of a camera app that actually works as opposed to most of them that just plain suck. The Focus 2 app worked flawlessly in the hot sun around the other people and other Wi-Fi, networks and camera. It was just, here I am holding my camera, holding my Hasselblad medium format camera in Disney, and sending over a file. The other cool thing that it does, that Focus 2 app, that I wish other camera apps would do, is it gives you the opportunity to download frames alongside your photo. So when you deliver the photo, it can have a nice frame around it. It could also, you can put the Hasselblad logo on there. Now, that might seem a little kitschy or whatever, but I liked it. I thought it was cool. A lot of people will come to my Instagram and social media to have like an educational type experience, because they like to ask advice and they like to know what I'm shooting with and what my settings were. And it's nice to be able to download a photo right off for social media. Now, I wouldn't use it for professional work, but for social media and just sharing images, to have the nice Hasselblad logo on the bottom and have some of that metadata, ISO, shutter speed, lens choice. I think it's really cool. I like it. I think it presents itself nicely, and I wish other camera brands would allow you to have it. It doesn't take much effort to add that feature. Why not stick it in your mobile app, and preferably make your mobile app work correctly? Like most of them don't, but this one does. So that was really nice. What else did I like about it? Like I said, just the simplicity of slowing down. Now, what are the negatives? Let's get into some negatives. Not every camera is perfect. We all know that. And what didn't I like about it? The autofocus is, so let's get in the woods with that a little bit, because this could take you in a million different directions. And I hate to see one of those people that's like, the autofocus, everything's about the autofocus. You're shooting a medium format camera. You can't ever expect it to be lightning fast. Now, I don't care if you have a Fuji, the brand new, X100 Mark II or whatnot. They're all slow when it comes to medium formats in terms of focus. I would say that this is probably even slower than it being slow. This kind of medium format autofocusing system on this camera is kind of a dinosaur. First of all, it's a 1-point autofocusing system. Small, medium, large focusing square is all you get. You can move it around the frame. You can touch screen move it around, which is fine. You can drag it, move it around in your EVF, which is fine. There is no face tracking. There isn't anything like that. So the X1 or the X2D has face tracking. The X1DII Mark II does not. Doubt that they're going to add it to firmware, because they're probably really not doing much with this camera anymore. But, so you just got to have yourself set up for a slow experience, which is fine when you're shooting medium format, because you're really shooting medium format for the amazing, bit depth and color fidelity and tonality and the gorgeous files and how deep and how much you can pull out of them. So it's really not a fast moving camera. So as long as you know that going into it, I think you'll have a pleasurable experience. But if you're looking for anything along the lines of a Sony or Canon or Nikon, you stop. You're not getting that at all. You're going to set yourself up for a big, big disappointment. But with that said, this is not a fast camera. It is meant for quality files. Another thing just to talk about when you talk about this camera is the battery. Now the battery, I just picked up a second one now, and the batteries are very expensive, just like any of the Leica Qs or SL batteries, and they are basically kind of the same. They are not the same battery, but they are the same type of battery. That battery that uses, you know, the base plate as part of the battery itself. If you can see that right there, and the same proprietary, push the button down the lever and tap it, and it comes out and it becomes part of the camera when you're in there. I picked up the second battery for around $75, but I think they're around $100 new. Still a little cheaper than the SL system, which can be $150 or more. But I did find this one, and I found it used on MPB. I'm not sponsored by MPB, but I'll just give a shout out that they had it and I bought it and it's in great condition. But battery life, right? So you probably want to know about battery life. I shot the entire week. I only had one battery, and the battery lasted me all day with a few caveats. Number one, I would either put the camera on sleep mode or I would shut off the camera completely when I wasn't using it. To shut it off completely, you hold the button down for a little bit and it shuts off. To sleep it, you just tap it and everything goes black on the camera. And if you need to wake it up, you just hit the button and you're ready to go. I also used a small USB charger, which I do not have on my desk here at the point. I don't even know where it is. I used a small USB battery bank with a USB-C cord, and you can slide that into the side of the camera right here. Let me see if I can get that off. USB-C right here. And I was able to charge the camera. Now I went from about 40% to like 85% in about 25, 30 minutes, which is great. But then one night I found myself doing a lot of shooting, and I ended up just leaving the cord in, and I kind of just had my battery and a small bag that I had around my chest or on my back, and I kept my cord in here and I ran it. I probably look like a big doofus, but whatever. I got the photo. I didn't run out of batteries, and I found myself using that option a lot, just kind of tethering the juice into the camera to supply it throughout the day, and I never had any issues. There is a dual card battery slot in here, or dual card, but that doesn't even make any sense. There is a dual SD card slots in here, so you can run two SD cards, shoot it redundantly, or you can use it as a, you fill up this card and it transitions to the next one. I didn't do that. I kind of just had one, I had two cards in, but I really only used one card. I used the 256 gig card. The files are about 108 megabytes a file. I shot all week long. I dumped all my files on SD card, on SSDs. However, I left them on the card itself. I always back up my files on vacation. Every night I come back from, wherever I am, I kind of SD card dump all the time. But I left all the files on the SD card. I shot about 3,000 photos, and I still had about 1,500 to 2,000 files left that I was able to shoot, 2,000 frames left on this camera with that card. So you can get a lot of photos off of a 256 gig card at 106 megabytes or so per image. So that really wasn't a negative, but I figured I would just, tell you that. But along another negative, the camera does get hot. I just found that the camera in my hand throughout the day, holding it while it was on, if I left it on for a little bit, it would get warm. If I was doing the tethering to the battery, it would get hot while it was charging and I was using it. Nothing that I couldn't hold the camera, but it was definitely present. The heat was present. I was in Florida too, but I could feel it. That's really all I have for negatives. A lot of the negatives would be negatives if people haven't ever experienced a digital medium format camera before. If you have, they're really not negatives because you already kind of know what you're getting into anyway, and you just learn to work around them. Medium format cameras are not for speed. They are for quality files and just the experience. And, You know, so here would be another negative, and I almost forgot to tell you this, so I'm just going to tell you now. I'm really not trying to make this long, and I don't script my videos, as you could probably tell from this rambling. This is an attention grabber. This camera right here, if you're trying to stay incognito and have nobody talk to you throughout your trip, do not bring this, especially do not bring this to like Walt DisneyWorld where I went. I know it sounds kind of funny to bring this camera at Walt Disney World, but like I said, I shot every camera possible in that park. You know, Ricoh GRs, X70s, X100Vs, X100Fs, a GFX, Leica M10, a Leica Q2, a Leica QP. And now I shot this, and the next time I'm going to shoot the Deluxe 8, the Leica Deluxe 8. That'll be the next one that I shoot. But I feel like it's a great place to really test out cameras. You know, you're grinding all day on a camera. You're using it in various situations. You're using it in landscape. You're using it in fine details. You're using it for food, for family portraits. You're using it kind of street photography, some kind of speed. I was able to get some fast moving photos as long as I pre-focused and I just, you know, timed the moment perfectly. I was fine. But, this is an attention grabber. I had like 4 or 5 different people come up to me throughout the week that I was there and was like, "Oh, what are you shooting there, man? Like, what is that?" And I'm like, you know, it's a Hasselblad. And 2 of the guys were photographers that worked for Disney. We're like, "Whoa, Hasselblad? Like, wow, that is a gorgeous camera. I've seen them online, never saw one in person." And, you know, they checked it out and they were like, "Wow, that is beautiful." It is a beautiful camera. I feel like I've gotten looks from people that really maybe weren't camera people because it just looks so different. It's not that it's huge. It's not that it's a big camera, but it's just well made. It's well crafted. It's got this gunmetal finish on it. It's got this nice orange shutter right here, and it's got a big screen. And, you know, it just looks like a different type of camera that people don't ordinarily see out in public. So I feel like it's an attention grabber. And specifically, one person, I was taking a picture of some people, you know, having lunch on like a bench, and some guy was walking towards me, and I saw him like kind of lock eyes with me, and I'm like, "Oh, here we go. What's this going to be?" And he was like, "That is entirely way too nice of a camera for you to be shooting in Disney." And he knew what it was, and he knew it was a Hasselblad, even though it is an older Hasselblad, but he knew what it was, and we just got into talking, and, you know, again, it's just an attention grabber. So if you're trying to avoid attention, this may not be the best camera for you to kind of walk around with, but I'm beyond that in my life. I really don't care. I do what I do, and I just enjoy being out and shooting, and I like to shoot different cameras, and I really, really enjoyed my experience with this camera. I really don't have any negative thoughts about it because I knew what I was getting into with medium format. I feel like if you don't know what you're getting into with medium format, then you could put yourself into a negative tailspin about this camera, but again, if you are already knowledgeable about the system, then that's what you're going to get, and I think you'll be just fine. I'm going to show you some photos. I shot a lot of negatives in, I say negatives, it's not a film camera. I shot a lot of files in the standard 645 format, but the one cool thing about this is because it is its heritage, Hasselblad made the X-Pan. There is an X-Pan crop in here, and it does transfer natively on your file. So when you download your DNGs, or they're not DNGs, they're FFRs or I don't know what they are. They're the raw files. When you transfer those to Lightroom, the crop comes with it. You can still have the full-size file if you want, but natively it will show you the crop, which is nice. And it's that, you know, that large X-Pan 65 by 24, I believe it is, crop. And it's beautiful and it's fun, and I'll throw some of those up here for you as well. Enjoy the files, enjoy the photos. I hope you like the video, like and subscribe. And yeah, Hasselblad X1DII Mark II. You can find them used now at good prices. You're talking about an amazing camera that cost a astronomical amount of money when it came out, and you can get them pretty much out of steel right now. So if you're into it and you know what you're getting into, get into it. See you on the next one. Stay for the photos first. Watch the photos and then see you on the next one. Later.